In the quiet moments of our lives, when we pause and reflect, there are times when we feel the weight of uncertainty, of questions that go unanswered. What does the future hold for us? What will tomorrow bring? These are questions that often linger in our minds, sometimes answered by hopes, sometimes by fears. But in the tradition of Islam, we have something far more profound than mere speculation: the wisdom of prophecies. The prophecies in Islam are not just predictions. They are divine guidance, spoken by the messenger of Allah, Prophet Muhammad, who was chosen to illuminate the path for us all. These prophecies were not uttered casually. They were the words of a man who lived his life in perfect alignment with the will of Allah, a man whose heart was illuminated with divine wisdom, and whose words were a direct reflection of Allah's infinite knowledge. The Prophet Muhammad, was not just a man of his time. His teachings transcend the boundaries of eras and speak to the hearts of people across centuries. The prophecies he shared with us are timeless, their significance stretching beyond the pages of history and into the very core of our daily lives. These aren't the type of predictions that fuel idle curiosity. No, they carry a deep, spiritual weight, meant to guide us, to prepare us, to help us grow in faith and understanding. Imagine standing with the Prophet during the days of the early revelation. The desert wind blowing gently as he spoke of a time yet to come, a time of trials and tribulations, a time when the world would face challenges beyond what many could comprehend. His words were not those of a man predicting with uncertainty, but those of a messenger imparting knowledge that Allah had granted him. What did the companions of the Prophet feel as they listened? One can only imagine the gravity of the moment, their hearts heavy with the awareness that these were not mere stories. These were the words of Allah, words that would shape the course of their lives, their community, and their future. They must have felt a deep sense of awe knowing that the Prophet was revealing to them the mysteries of the future, that which only Allah himself knew. And yet, even as the Prophet's words painted pictures of the future, they also served as a call to action, a reminder that each individual's response mattered. These prophecies were not simply for the future, they were for today. The lessons embedded in the words of the Prophet speak directly to our lives now, guiding us in how we should act, how we should live with faith, patience, and righteousness, even in the face of difficulties. The significance of these prophecies in Islam cannot be overstated. They are not meant to be merely observed. They are meant to transform us. They urge us to look at the world through a lens of faith, to understand the trials we face are part of a larger, divine plan. These prophecies remind us that, no matter what happens in the world, we are never alone. The teachings of the Prophet are our guide. The Quran is our source of light, and Allah is always with us. What makes these prophecies even more powerful is that they have resonated throughout history. We look back at the time of the Prophet and we see how his words came true in ways that continue to shape the present. It's humbling to realize that, even today, the events of the past are unfolding in ways that the Prophet foresaw. And as we move into the future, we are reminded that Allah's plan is always unfolding, and our role is to walk it with faith, trust, and submission. Think for a moment, how do these prophecies shape the way you view the world around you? Do they help you navigate the challenges of your own life? Are you prepared to face the trials that may come, knowing that they are part of a greater divine wisdom? Prophet Muhammad did not just speak of the future. He gave us a roadmap for living. His words call us to reflect, to act with purpose, and to place our trust in Allah. As we journey through the prophecies of Prophet Muhammad, we will see how each one holds a unique lesson, a guiding principle for our lives today. And as we reflect on these teachings, we must ask ourselves, how do we respond to the future that lies ahead? With fear, with uncertainty, or with the strength of faith, knowing that we are walking a path already illuminated by the Prophet's wisdom? The answers, my friends, are within us, as long as we take the time to listen, reflect, and act upon the guidance that has been provided to us. In every era, in every heart, there arises the need to understand the future, to grasp the wisdom of what is yet to come. It is a yearning to find guidance and a roadmap that helps us navigate the uncertainties of life. In Islam, This quest for understanding is not left to chance or human speculation. The teachings of Prophet Muhammad, blessed with divine insight, have left us with prophecies, glimpses of the future, that guide us through the complexities of the world. These prophecies are not random words. They are carefully preserved in the form of hadiths, the sayings and actions of the Prophet, meticulously recorded by his companions and later generations of scholars. But not all hadiths are created equal. Some are sound, sahih, meaning they are authentic and reliable, passed down through trustworthy narrators with a clear chain of transmission. Others, however, are weak or fabricated, often lacking the strong chain of narrators or containing contradictions with established truths. It is crucial to distinguish between the two, for only the Sahih hadiths hold the weight of divine truth. As we explore the prophecies of the Prophet, we are reminded that these were not just predictions meant to satisfy curiosity or to paint a picture of an uncertain future. These prophecies were revelations, words inspired by Allah, meant to guide humanity through trials, struggles, and moments of spiritual growth. The beauty of these prophecies lies not only in their accuracy but in their eternal relevance. The Prophet spoke of events that would unfold centuries after his passing, yet they resonate as deeply today as they did in the past. One of the most well-known prophecies is the rise of corruption and immorality in society. The Prophet Muhammad warned of a time when falsehood would prevail, when the truth would be distorted, and when the value of honesty, integrity, and virtue would be undermined. There will come a time, he said, when people will give up speaking the truth, and the liars will become the trusted ones. Imagine for a moment the weight of these words as they were spoken in the simplicity of the desert, to a people who had just begun their journey of faith. How would they have felt, hearing such a powerful warning about a time so far away? And yet, when we look around today, we see the echoes of this prophecy in our lives. In a world filled with misinformation, in the age of social media where truth is often buried under layers of half-truths, the Prophet's words ring loudly in our ears. Have we, as a community, truly stayed faithful to the truth? Or have we, like those the Prophet warned us about, allowed falsehood to seep into our lives? Another powerful prophecy that holds deep significance for us today concerns the political upheavals and the rise of oppressive rulers. The Prophet spoke of a time when tyrants would come to power, when the rulers would abandon justice and the common people would suffer under their reign. You will see people who wear silk and live in luxury, the Prophet said, but they will oppress and subjugate the people. How unsettling these words must have felt to those who had just witnessed the rise of the first Islamic caliphate, where justice, fairness, and equality were paramount. And yet, if we turn our gaze to the modern world, we see the reality of this prophecy. In many regions of the world, we see rulers who live in luxury while their people endure hardship. We see wars, corruption, and the suffering of the innocent. How does this prophecy apply to us? How do we, as individuals, respond to the injustices we see around us? Do we remain silent, or do we stand up for justice, as the Prophet Muhammad taught us? One of the most poignant prophecies of all is the one concerning the natural world, the environmental changes and disasters that will unfold as the end times approach. The earth will be shaken, the Prophet foretold, and people will experience turmoil and calamity. We have witnessed, in our own time, an increase in natural disasters, from earthquakes to floods, from hurricanes to wildfires. The signs are becoming clearer, and the Prophet's words seem more relevant than ever. How did the companions of the Prophet react when they heard these prophecies? Their hearts were filled with both fear and hope. Fear because they knew the severity of the challenges that lay ahead, and hope because they knew these prophecies were not meant to cause despair, but to prepare them, to call them to action. They were urged to act with righteousness, to remain steadfast in their faith, and to trust in Allah's divine wisdom. Now let us pause and reflect. As we listen to these prophecies, we are not merely hearing stories of a distant past. We are hearing the timeless wisdom of the Prophet, meant to guide us through our own challenges. These prophecies invite us to examine our own lives, to see where we stand in relation to the truth, to justice, and to our responsibility towards the world around us. What does it mean to live with the awareness of these prophecies? It means that we must constantly strive to live in a way that is true to the teachings of Islam, to uphold justice, to speak the truth, and to protect the earth that Allah has entrusted to us. These are not distant, abstract concepts. These are lessons that we must apply in our daily lives, in our interactions with others, and in our treatment of the world. So, as you reflect on the prophecies of Prophet Muhammad, ask yourself, what is your role in this unfolding story? Are you a part of the solution, upholding justice and truth, or are you allowing the darkness to spread? The Prophet did not merely foretell the future. He gave us the tools to navigate it with faith, with courage, and with a deep sense of responsibility. The path ahead may be filled with challenges, but with the guidance of the Prophet, we are never alone. His words are not just prophecies. They are a call to action, a call to live with purpose, and a call to prepare for the ultimate return to our Creator. As the winds of time blow forward, we find ourselves standing at the crossroads of past, present, and future. We seek wisdom from the ages, and in the rich teachings of Prophet Muhammad we are reminded that the challenges we face today were foreseen long ago. These are not mere predictions. They are divine revelations meant to guide us, to prepare us for what is to come. The Prophet spoke of the future in clear terms, warning us of the rise of falsehood, the fall of morality, and the triumph of righteousness. His words carry immense weight, offering us both a mirror and a map, reflecting the world around us and showing us the way forward. Let us journey together through the key predictions of Prophet Muhammad, each one a beacon of light in the darkness, each one a call to action, a reminder to live with purpose, faith, and vigilance. The rise of false leaders, dajjals, and imposters. The Prophet Muhammad spoke of a time when false leaders, imposters, and deceivers would rise, casting a shadow over the world. He warned of individuals who would claim to be the truth, yet lead people astray. There will come a time, he said, when many dajjals, imposters, will appear, each claiming to be the savior, each one deceiving those who follow them. Imagine, if you will, the scene in the early days of Islam. A humble community, struggling to build a new way of life. Now here's these words of caution. How would the companions have felt? Fear, perhaps, but also a sense of urgency. The Prophet wasn't merely warning them of distant dangers. He was preparing them for a future they would live to see. How many false prophets have we seen in our own time? From political figures who manipulate the truth to leaders who promise salvation but offer only division. We live in an age where deception is rife. But these warnings are not meant to drive us to despair. They are meant to awaken us. When we see falsehood rise, let us remember the words of the Prophet, and stay true to the values of Islam: honesty, integrity, and justice. When we face deception, may our hearts remain steadfast in the truth of Allah's guidance. 2. The spread of knowledge and technology. The Prophet Muhammad also predicted the rapid spread of knowledge and technology. The hour will not come, he said, until knowledge is widespread and people are well-versed in the sciences of this world. This was an astonishing prophecy, for in the time of the Prophet the world was still in the early stages of discovery. The idea of widespread education, of technology that could connect people across continents, was beyond the imagination of many. And yet, look at the world we live in today. We are surrounded by information at every turn. We can access knowledge with a tap on a screen, learn from the greatest minds of history, and communicate with anyone, anywhere. Technology, once a distant dream, has become a part of our everyday lives, shaping the way we live, work, and connect with one another. But with this gift comes a responsibility. The Prophet's words are a reminder that knowledge is a powerful tool, one that can be used for both good and evil. As we advance in technology, let us not forget that true knowledge, the kind that brings us closer to Allah, is not measured by how many devices we can create or how much information we can store, but by how we use that knowledge to live justly, compassionately, and in accordance with the teachings of Islam. 3. The signs of the Day of Judgment. The Prophet spoke often of the signs that would precede the Day of Judgment, painting vivid images of the world as it would become before that final moment. "The earth will tremble," he said, "and the sky will darken. Natural disasters will increase, and moral decay will spread like wildfire." He described a world in which people would lose sight of righteousness, where greed, corruption, and cruelty would reign. Look around you today. Natural disasters, from earthquakes to hurricanes, seem to be on the rise. Entire communities are devastated by floods, fires, and storms. And while we may attribute these calamities to nature's course, we cannot ignore the spiritual lesson they carry. These are signs, warnings, if you will, that the world is changing, that the hour draws closer. But it is not just the natural world that shows signs of the end times. The moral fabric of society, too, seems to be fraying. Injustice, selfishness, and a lack of compassion are widespread. People often place wealth and status above kindness and integrity. The prophets saw words serve as a reminder to us all to return to the values of Islam, to live with honesty, compassion, and humility. When we see the signs of decay around us, let us ask ourselves, are we part of the solution or part of the problem? For the return of Imam Mahdi and the second coming of Isa, as perhaps one of the most hopeful prophecies of all, is the return of Imam Mahdi and the second coming of Isa. The Prophet Muhammad told us that before the Day of Judgment, a leader would rise, Imam Mahdi, who would bring justice and peace to the world. And alongside him, Isa would return, defeating the forces of evil and establishing righteousness. This prophecy brings hope to the hearts of Muslims, for it reminds us that no matter how dark the world becomes, there is always the promise of redemption. The return of Imam Mahdi and Isa is not just an event to look forward to, it is a call to action. We are reminded that the struggle for justice is ongoing, and that we must always strive to live according to the values of Islam, awaiting the day when justice will prevail over oppression. Reflection and call to action. As we reflect on these prophecies, we realize that they are not simply about the future, they are about today. They call us to action, urging us to stand firm in the face of falsehood, to use knowledge wisely, to uphold justice, and to live with righteousness, even when the world around us seems to be falling apart. The prophets saw words are a guide, not just for the world to come, but for the world we live in right now. As we witness the rise of falsehood, the spread of knowledge, the signs of moral decay, and the hope of redemption, we must ask ourselves, how are we responding? Are we contributing to the problems of the world, or are we part of the solution? Are we living the values that Prophet Muhammad taught us, or have we lost our way? The future may be uncertain, but one thing is clear: we are never alone in our journey. The guidance of the Prophet remains, a light in the darkness, a beacon of hope for those who seek truth, justice, and peace. Flow of history, one truth remains constant: the trials and tests of life are inevitable. As believers, we are reminded through the prophecies of Prophet Muhammad that the future is not only shaped by the events we witness, but also by how we respond to them. His words, passed down through generations, give us not just insight into the challenges ahead, but also the means to navigate them. The task before us is not simply to await these prophecies passively, but to actively engage with them, to prepare ourselves, and to strengthen our faith in the face of uncertainty. In Islam, responding to the future is not a matter of fear or panic. It is a call to vigilance, to unity, and to a steadfast heart that trusts in the wisdom of Allah. The role of the Islamic community, then, is clear: to remain united, to support one another, and to face the challenges foretold by the Prophet with unwavering faith and righteousness. But what does it mean for us to respond? What does it mean to prepare for the events the Prophet foretold? How do we, as individuals and as a community, hold on to the values of Islam when faced with the rising tide of tribulation? The first and foremost responsibility for us, as Muslims, is vigilance. The Prophet Muhammad spoke of future times when trials would come, times when the world would be shaken by events beyond our control. But he also taught us that we should never be caught unawares. The believer is always vigilant, he said, and always prepared for whatever comes. Imagine for a moment the early days of Islam, when the companions of the Prophet heard his words. They were not just waiting for events to unfold. They were preparing their hearts and minds, strengthening their connection to Allah, and striving to live according to the values of Islam. When the Prophet spoke of future trials, the companions did not shrink back in fear. They were emboldened by their faith. Their hearts were firm, rooted in their trust in Allah's plan. This is the spirit of vigilance we must adopt. We are living in a world full of distractions, challenges, and uncertainties. It is easy to lose sight of the bigger picture, to become overwhelmed by the noise of daily life. But the Prophet's teachings remind us to remain alert and focused. Our vigilance is not about predicting the future or controlling what is to come. It is about preparing ourselves spiritually, mentally, and morally to respond to whatever Allah decrees. When we reflect on the events foretold by the Prophet we see that the strength of the Muslim community lies in its unity and in the righteousness of its individual members. The Prophet emphasized the importance of faith and good character, saying, "None of you truly believes until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for himself." In this simple yet profound statement, the Prophet highlights the central role of love, empathy, and shared responsibility within the community. During times of difficulty and hardship, it is easy to become isolated, to focus solely on our own struggles. But the Prophet taught us that the strength of our faith is measured not by how we cope with our own trials, but by how we help others through theirs. The Islamic community is meant to be a source of support and compassion, a network of believers who strengthen one another in times of need. When we witness the challenges foretold by the Prophet, the rise of false leaders, the spread of corruption, the signs of moral decay, it is crucial that we do not face these trials in isolation. We must remain united, as a brotherhood and sisterhood, offering support, guidance, and solidarity. Unity is not just a social bond. It is a spiritual imperative. In our unity, we find strength, and in our shared faith, we find the resilience to endure. At the heart of responding to the prophecies of the Prophet lies the concept of tawakkul, trust in Allah. Tawakkul is not about complacency or passivity. It is about taking action while placing our trust in Allah's infinite wisdom. The Prophet taught us that while we must make every effort to prepare and to act in accordance with Allah's guidance, we must also recognize that the ultimate outcome is in Allah's hands. Think about the companions of the Prophet as they faced their own trials. They fought battles, faced persecution, and endured hardship. But through it all, they placed their trust in Allah. Even in moments of fear and uncertainty, they did not lose heart because they knew that whatever happened, it was part of a greater divine plan. They understood that faith is not just about avoiding hardship, it is about trusting Allah through it. In our own lives, tawakkul teaches us that we can work towards our goals, take steps to improve ourselves, and prepare for the challenges ahead. But we must always remember that it is Allah who ultimately determines the outcome. This trust brings peace to the heart, for it frees us from the anxiety of controlling the uncontrollable. It is a reminder that, no matter what the future holds, we are never alone. As we reflect on the prophecies of the Prophet, it is important to remember that the responsibility to respond is not just on the individual. It is a collective one. Each of us has a role to play in the wider community, and our actions, no matter how small, contribute to the strength and resilience of the Ummah. When the Prophet spoke of the future, he did not just call on us to survive it. He called on us to thrive through it, through faith, through righteousness, and through unity. Ask yourself, how can you prepare for the trials that are to come? Are you strengthening your connection to Allah through prayer and reflection? Are you supporting your brothers and sisters in faith, offering help, compassion, and understanding? And above all, are you placing your trust in Allah, knowing that whatever the future holds, it is part of His perfect plan? The Prophet left us not just with predictions of the future, but with the tools to face it with faith, courage, and dignity. The challenge, then, is not merely to survive what is to come, but to live in such a way that we embody the best of what Islam has to offer: love, justice, compassion, and unwavering trust in Allah. As we step into the year 2026, the world stands at the crossroads of uncertainty and hope. We witness technological advances, shifting political landscapes, environmental crises, and an evolving social fabric that constantly reshapes the way we live. The weight of this moment in time is heavy, and naturally, many of us wonder, do the prophecies of Prophet Muhammad have any bearing on what we are experiencing right now? Is the year 2026 part of the divine plan foretold by the Prophet, or is it simply another chapter in the ever-turning wheel of history? The beauty of Islamic teachings lies not in pinpointing exact dates or years for future events, but in providing us with timeless wisdom, guidance on how to navigate the challenges of the world we live in. The Prophet gave us prophecies that extend far beyond any specific time period. They are meant to be universal, allowing us to relate them to the changing tides of society, the rise and fall of nations, and the moral and spiritual shifts that define any age. In this section, we will explore how the prophecies of the Prophet Muhammad fit within the context of the world we know today. While Islamic tradition does not fixate on exact years, there are clear trends and signs in the world today that resonate deeply with the teachings of the Prophet. The events we see unfolding may not be clearly written in the stars or etched in the pages of history, but the broader patterns, the rise of injustice, the breakdown of moral values, the increasing chaos and suffering, are precisely what the Prophet warned us about. In his time, Prophet Muhammad warned of an era when social systems would deteriorate, when the bonds of family and community would fray, and when the true essence of faith would be obscured by the distractions of the material world. You will see the truth as if it were falsehood, and the falsehood as if it were truth, he said. These words are a powerful reflection of the times we live in today. The world of 2026, in many ways, mirrors these signs. We live in an age where misinformation spreads faster than truth, where the line between right and wrong has become blurred. Social media, the internet, and mass communication, which were meant to connect us, have instead created divides of opinion, of ideology, and, sadly, of belief. In many corners of the world, people now question the very foundation of what is right and what is wrong, often losing sight of the guiding principles that have always anchored human society. It's as though we're living in a world where truth is for sale, where justice is corrupted, and where righteousness is no longer prized as it once was. The Prophet spoke of a time when the rulers would become tyrannical, when leaders would deceive their people, and when those in power would forsake justice. His words were not just warnings, they were a call to vigilance. Imagine the faces of the companions of the Prophet as they heard these warnings. They had just witnessed the birth of a new Islamic civilization, a community bound by the values of justice, equality, and faith. How must they have felt when they were told that, in the future, these very principles could be overshadowed by greed, oppression, and falsehood? What would they have done to prepare? They would have strengthened their faith, built their communities, and always remained vigilant, guarding against the forces that sought to undermine the values they had fought so hard to establish. And so too must we, in our time, as we witness the rise of populist leaders who often manipulate truth for their own benefit, or as we see entire systems of governance crumble under the weight of corruption, we must ask ourselves, are we, too, prepared to protect the values of Islam? Are we ready to stand firm in the face of these tribulations? Another powerful sign foretold by the Prophet Muhammad is the increase in natural disasters as the day of judgment approaches. He spoke of the earth trembling, of floods, storms, and fires, as harbingers of the end times. Today, we live in an age where these very signs are all too real. From catastrophic wildfires in Australia and California to devastating floods in Pakistan and Bangladesh, the earth seems to be crying out in distress. As we reflect on these disasters, we must not only see them as natural events, but as spiritual reminders. The prophets words remind us that the earth, like all of creation, is under the command of Allah. The increased frequency of natural disasters serves as a reminder of the fragility of the world we inhabit, calls us to reflect on our role as stewards of this earth. Have we treated the planet with the respect it deserves, or have we been negligent in our duty to protect it? Are we, as the Ummah, living in a way that is aligned with the balance and harmony that Allah created in the world? Imagine the impact these disasters have on the communities affected, the pain of losing homes, lives, and livelihoods. The emotional toll of these events is felt deeply, not just by those directly affected, but by all of us who witness the suffering of others. The prophets' teachings guide us to act with compassion, to offer help where we can, and to remain steadfast in our faith as we navigate these trials together. Amidst the darkness of trials and tribulations, the Prophet Muhammad also foretold a time of hope, a time when justice would prevail and the world would be led by the rightful leaders, Imam Mahdi and Isaias. These two figures, who will return in the final days, will bring justice, peace, and righteousness to a world that has long been mired in corruption and oppression. While we may not know the exact year when these figures will appear, their return is part of the greater divine plan, a promise from Allah that justice will ultimately prevail. As we reflect on the challenges of the present day, we are reminded that no matter how dire the circumstances, there is always hope. The story of Imam Mahdi and Isaias reminds us that righteousness will triumph over evil and that the divine plan is always unfolding, even if we cannot see it. In our time, we may face difficulties, injustices, and hardships, but these prophecies offer us a vision of a better future, one where truth and justice reign supreme. The return of these figures is not just a distant hope, it is a call to action. It reminds us that our efforts to live righteously, to fight for justice, and to support one another in times of need are part of the preparation for the time when peace will once again be restored. As we step into 2026, the challenges of our world may seem overwhelming at times, but the prophecies of the Prophet Muhammad remind us that we are not powerless. They call us to act with integrity, to stay true to our faith, and to live in a way that aligns with the principles of justice, compassion, and righteousness. While we cannot predict the future, we can prepare for it by remaining vigilant, by uniting as an ummah, and by placing our trust in Allah's plan. So, as you reflect on the state of the world in 2026, ask yourself, how are you responding to the prophecies? Are you living a life of righteousness, contributing to the greater good, and supporting the values that will lead to a better world? The future may be uncertain, but with the guidance of Prophet Muhammad, we are never without a roadmap. In every age, humanity has faced challenges, some great, some small, but each has shaped the course of history. Today, as we stand on the threshold of the year 2026, we find ourselves confronting challenges that seem unprecedented in their scale and impact. From the devastating effects of climate change to the rise of political instability, from the erosion of moral values to the breakdown of community bonds, the world feels as though it is in turmoil. These issues are not just abstract concerns. They affect us personally, as individuals, as communities, and as a global ummah. But what if these challenges are not merely the result of human error or natural forces? What if they are, in fact, the signs foretold by Prophet Muhammad more than 1,000 years ago? The prophecies of the Prophet have always been a guide for the Muslim ummah, providing not just insight into the future, but also wisdom on how to live righteously in the face of adversity. As we reflect on the trials of our time, it is essential to ask ourselves, how do these modern challenges align with the prophecies of the Prophet? What lessons can we draw from them? And most importantly, how should we respond? Let's begin by considering one of the most pressing challenges of our time: climate change. The impact of human activity on the environment has reached a critical point, with rising temperatures, extreme weather events, deforestation, and the pollution of our oceans. We witness once-in-a-lifetime storms, wildfires that ravage entire communities, and floods that displace millions of people. The earth seems to be crying out in distress. When we look at the prophecies of Prophet Muhammad, his words about the earth tremble with relevance. He spoke of the earth shaking, of calamities and upheavals that would precede the day of judgment. The hour will not come until the earth is struck with earthquakes. The Prophet said, and indeed, we see these prophecies manifesting today in the form of earthquakes, tsunamis, and other natural disasters. The emotional weight of this reality is undeniable. Imagine the fear and uncertainty of families who lose their homes to floods or communities torn apart by storms. There is a deep sorrow in witnessing the destruction of the planet, our home, a gift from Allah, because it is not just an environmental issue, it is a spiritual crisis. In Islam, we are taught that the earth is a trust, amana, from Allah. We are stewards, caretakers of the environment, and yet we have failed to live up to this responsibility. The Prophet warned us about the dangers of exploitation and neglect, urging us to honor the earth, to respect its balance, and to protect it for future generations. As Muslims, we must ask ourselves, what role are we playing in the degradation of the planet? Are we living in a way that reflects our duty to care for the earth, or are we contributing to its harm? The challenge of climate change is not just about environmental policies. It is about our relationship with the world Allah has given us. How will we respond, as individuals and as a global community, to this pressing challenge? Another major challenge in our time is political instability. From ongoing conflicts in the Middle East to the rise of populist leaders around the world, we see an increasing number of nations grappling with instability, corruption, and injustice. The Prophet warned that a time would come when leaders would be tyrannical, when the rulers would oppress their people, and when the rich and powerful would thrive while the poor suffered. These warnings are particularly poignant today. We see politicians who exploit their power for personal gain, whose policies deepen the divide between the rich and the poor, and whose greed undermines the very fabric of society. There is a rising tide of nationalism, where leaders stir division and hatred, using fear and prejudice to maintain control. People feel disillusioned, marginalized, and unheard, and the political landscape becomes more fractured than ever before. The emotional toll of these political crises is felt deeply, not just by those who suffer directly, but by all of us who witness injustice. The Prophet spoke about the signs of the end times, when injustice would be rampant and tyranny would reign. The rulers will oppress the people, he said, and we see this very reality in our world today. What does Islam teach us in the face of such injustice? The Prophet called on the Ummah to stand up for justice, to speak out against oppression, and to never compromise our values in the face of tyranny. He reminded us that the true power lies with Allah alone, and that those who unjustly rule will ultimately be held accountable before Him. In the face of political instability and injustice, it is not enough to remain silent. As Muslims, we must actively engage with the world around us, advocating for justice, equity, and the dignity of all human beings. Finally, we come to the erosion of moral values. In a world where consumerism reigns, where the pursuit of material wealth often trumps spiritual growth, we see a decline in values such as honesty, compassion, and humility. Prophet Muhammad foretold that a time would come when these virtues would be forgotten. You will see people abandoning the Sunnah, he said, and the truth will be distorted. Look at the world around us today. Social media platforms often fuel narcissism, selfishness, and superficiality. In our quest for material success, we forget the importance of building character, of caring for the less fortunate, of living a life of humility. We see people placing more value on possessions than on people, on status than on compassion. The moral decay the Prophet warned us about is evident in the way we treat one another, in the lack of empathy, and in the prioritization of self-interest over collective well-being. In this context, we must reflect: are we contributing to this moral decline? Or are we striving to live lives of integrity, humility, and empathy, as the Prophet taught us? It is easy to be swept up in the tides of materialism and selfishness, but true fulfillment lies in living a life that is pleasing to Allah, one that values relationships, kindness, and sincerity above all else. As we reflect on these modern challenges, it is important to remember that they are not merely problems to be solved by governments, policies, or technologies. They are spiritual trials, tests that we must navigate as an ummah. The Prophet did not merely predict these challenges. He gave us the tools to respond to them with faith, integrity, and resilience. So how will we respond? Will we let the weight of these challenges break us down? Or will we rise to meet them with unwavering faith and resolve? The challenges we face today, climate change, political instability, and moral decay, are reminders of the transient nature of this world. They urge us to return to our roots, to strengthen our faith, to live in harmony with the world Allah has entrusted to us, and to uphold justice and righteousness in all our dealings. The time to act is now. As we witness these trials unfold, let us not forget the timeless wisdom of the Prophet Muhammad. Let us rise above the challenges, reflect deeply, and strengthen our connection to Allah, for only through Him can we find the strength to overcome these trials. As we come to the close of our journey through the prophecies of Prophet Muhammad, it is important to reflect on the deeper wisdom embedded within his words. These prophecies are not simply forecasts of future events. They are divine guidance meant to steer us through the trials and tribulations of life. They offer us clarity, providing us with a vision of the challenges we may face and how we can navigate them with faith, resilience, and righteousness. The prophecies of the Prophet are a constant reminder that the world we live in is not permanent. Every trial, every disaster, every moment of uncertainty is part of a larger divine plan. And as Muslims, we are called to meet these moments with unwavering trust in Allah, holding firm to the values that have been passed down through generations of believers. These prophecies, far from being causes of fear, are meant to strengthen our hearts, to remind us that we are not alone in this journey. We are guided by the wisdom of the Prophet, whose words have transcended time and continue to resonate with us today. The prophecies, warnings, and reminders as we reflect on the prophecies of the Prophet, we must remember that they are not merely warnings of doom and destruction. They are also profound reminders of the importance of piety, reflection, and preparation. The Prophet, did not speak of the future to instill fear. He spoke to us out of mercy, to remind us of the transient nature of this world and the permanence of the hereafter. Each prophecy, whether it speaks of the rise of false leaders, the collapse of moral values, or the signs of the end times, is an invitation to turn inward and strengthen our relationship with Allah. These prophecies call us to maintain a state of readiness, to live with purpose, and to constantly prepare for the moment when we return to our Creator. The Prophet, reminds us that life is not merely about surviving the storms of this world. It is about thriving in righteousness, with the awareness that every moment is an opportunity to draw closer to Allah. Imagine, if you will, the companions of the Prophet, the first believers who heard these prophecies directly from his lips. Their lives were full of trials. They faced persecution, loss, and hardship. Yet, through it all, they were steadfast in their faith, finding solace in the Prophet's words. They understood that the trials they faced were not the end but a means of purification, an opportunity to strengthen their connection with Allah. Their hearts were filled with trust, for they knew that no matter how difficult the path, Allah's wisdom and mercy would always guide them. In the same way, as we face the modern challenges of our time, climate change, political instability, moral decay, we are reminded to hold fast to the teachings of Islam. These challenges, while difficult, are not without purpose. They are a test, a chance for us to return to our faith, to renew our commitment to righteousness, and to strive to live lives that reflect the values of justice, kindness, and compassion. As we contemplate these prophecies, we are also reminded of the central role that faith plays in our lives. Faith is the anchor that holds us steady in times of crisis. It is the light that guides us through the darkness, the strength that keeps us going when everything else seems uncertain. The Prophet Muhammad taught us that in times of difficulty, we must place our trust in Allah, for He is the one who controls all affairs, and He alone knows the wisdom behind every trial we face. The concept of tawakkul, trusting in Allah, echoes through the teachings of the Prophet. It is not enough to simply act. We must also place our trust in Allah's plan, knowing that whatever happens is ultimately for our benefit, even if we cannot understand it at the time. The Prophet said, "If you were to rely on Allah with the true reliance, He would provide for you as He provides for the birds. They go out hungry in the morning and return with full bellies." This beautiful hadith reminds us that Allah's provision and mercy are limitless, and that by placing our trust in Him, we are assured of His care and guidance. Imagine the emotional release of surrendering to Allah's will. It is not a resignation to fate, but a peaceful acceptance that whatever unfolds is part of a divine plan. When the world around us seems unstable, when the future appears uncertain, faith becomes our most precious possession. It is the unwavering belief that Allah's wisdom is far greater than our own understanding, and that He will never abandon those who seek His guidance with sincerity. Now, as we reflect on the wisdom embedded in the prophecies of Prophet Muhammad, we must ask ourselves, how are we responding to these challenges? Are we allowing the fear of uncertainty to consume us? Or are we strengthening our faith and reliance on Allah? Are we living in a way that aligns with the teachings of Islam, striving to be a source of light and guidance in a world that so desperately needs it? The prophecies are not just historical predictions, they are a call to action. They urge us to reflect on our own lives, to examine our actions, and to repent for our shortcomings. They call on us to prepare, not just for the physical trials that may come, but for the spiritual trials that will define our ultimate success or failure. As we navigate the modern world, we must remember the importance of adhering to Islamic values. Values that place the well-being of others above our own selfish desires, that promote justice and mercy, that encourage us to care for the environment, and that remind us of our ultimate purpose, to worship Allah and seek His pleasure. The time to act is now. We must rise to the occasion, as the companions of the Prophet did, and live our lives with integrity, compassion, and faith. In closing, let us remember that the wisdom in the prophecies of Prophet Muhammad is not just a guide for the future. It is a call for reflection, repentance, and a renewed commitment to our faith. The challenges of the world today, whether they are political, social, environmental, or spiritual, are opportunities for us to strengthen our connection with Allah, to renew our faith, and to live as true followers of the Prophet. So, as you move forward into the future, ask yourself, how will you respond to the trials ahead? Will you face them with fear or with faith? Will you be guided by the wisdom of the Prophet, living a life that reflects the values of Islam? Or will you allow the distractions of the world to lead you astray? The prophecies of the Prophet are not just predictions. They are invitations to rise above the challenges of this world and to live a life that is pleasing to Allah. The future may be uncertain, but with faith, trust, and adherence to the teachings of Islam, we are never alone.